Welcome back to another episode of Believe in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell here with my co-host Seth Dowdle, who's feeling a lot better in today's episode compared to the last one. Feeling good, ready to talk some TCU basketball. You ready for this, Seth?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm backing up and not in bed anymore, which is great actually. First couple of days of being sick, you're like, this is kind of nice. I'm not doing anything. It's like fun to not do anything, and then like you get to that third and fourth day, you're like, okay, stuff's starting to pile up, and I can't do it because I'm sick. And now you're like, I just need to get going, and then you finally do, and it's a lot better. So I'm happy to be back and talk about a great weekend, a great week in general of Horned Frog athletics. They did not lose; not a single team lost.
Wow, that is true. That's pretty impressive. Uh, but most notably, TCU women's basketball capturing their second consecutive Big 12 regular season title outright with a 65-53 win over Baylor. Now, last time we talked with y'all, there was we were talking about the possibility of, hey, if they beat Cincinnati, at the very worst, they get a share of the Big 12 championship. And what I absolutely love that Mark Campbell and TCU women's basketball is saying after this, we don't like to share. We don't want to share a Big 12 title. We want to outright win it. And they did that at home with College Game Day there. It was really fun and entertaining to watch for sure, just to see the fans get really into it. And, hopefully more people kind of hearing about TCU and the culture and exactly what Mark Campbell is building, because it is something insane. It is just a well-oiled machine. And the Horned Frogs are your regular season Big 12 champions. It's really awesome to be able to say that.
Yeah, it's great. Especially from where we talked about this a lot last season, but just from where they were 4 years ago, 3 years ago, heck, even like 2 years ago, to now, to where they can't seem to lose at home. They are competing with Baylor. I mean, men's and women's basketball have kind of owned the Bears the past 2 years, and that is just kind of flabbergasting. To pick a word out of the hat. It's this really weird phenomenon to where now the whole script has been flipped, and TCU basketball is kind of the king of the castle in terms of the rivalry. Now, obviously, Baylor has those national championships that they like to hold dear and close when they're pearl clutch, and they really like to talk about those. But right now, it's all about the Horned Frogs beating Baylor in a pretty comfortable win. Marta Suarez had a very, very good Marta Suarez day. Olivia Miles was also on top of it. I mean, she just has had a heck of a last couple of weeks for TCU, and now the Frogs are, as you said, Big 12 champions in the regular season, 2 consecutive years in a row. Now they'll have an opportunity this weekend to go out and get that tournament championship, get that automatic bid, and hopefully move up a seed line to probably the 2 line, and then head into March looking for a national title. Kind of is what we're looking for now. It's not even just make it to the Elite Eight. They've done that before. It's making it to the Final Four and compete for a national championship.
It is. It's crazy how the standard's risen, and regardless, it's been such a tremendous season. Baylor's a great team. I don't want to put anything against them. They are a formidable team, and TCU just looked comfortable out there. It wasn't a super high scoring game. Offense was a little hard to come by, but for the most part, I was super confident that the Frogs were going to handle business, especially at home. A 42 game winning streak at home is absolutely remarkable. That is truly
Crazy
impressive
stuff.
to bring out the best in front of your home fans night in and night out for 42 games straight is insane. That is definitely noteworthy, and another regular season where TCU did not lose in Schollmeyer Arena. You mentioned Marta Suarez's great game, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. That's kind of the big thing that helped separate TCU. They shot 35% from beyond the arc that game, but Baylor shot 19%. They just really could not get anything going. Where the Bears and TCU was able to get just enough offense to pull this one out. What were there any other things that you saw from this game in their win over Baylor?
Not really. I mean, it just was kind of the same story, right? Marta Suarez and Olivia Miles kind of taking turns. It seems like every other game, it's like one. Who do you want to be leading scorer today? All right, cool, sounds good. And then the other one also just has a really good day at the office as well. So, and liked what I saw there. Really good atmosphere. Fans really showed up for it. College game day was on site for this one in the morning, and they were talking about how that was one of their best college game day environments all season long. So props to TCU fans for showing out there as well. And that translated to the game too, where you got to see a good basketball game. You got to beat your rival in the Bears, and also raise a trophy, raise a banner. You know, Mark Campbell's team has really been just adding those by the bunch to Schollmeyer Arena. Hopefully, more to come in seasons down the line. So that's really all I got to take away from it. It just was a good fun time. It was a good fun time. TCU, they lost to Colorado back on February 8th, and since then they have seemed invincible. I mean, for all the op-eds and everything that were written after that Colorado game, TCU's just proved all the doubters wrong. They are out here to prove people wrong and say, I know that we are being compared to last season's team, and they're saying we don't care. It doesn't matter. We're also really, really good, and we're going to go out there and win our own way with our own players and go as far as we can. And right now it looks like that ceiling is pretty far.
It has been a really impressive end of the season after that Colorado loss. Impressive wins across the board, beating Baylor, beating West Virginia, beating Baylor twice, coming back against Iowa State. They are really hitting their stride. One thing I did want to mention with the way that Mark Campbell is kind of running this with minute distribution, it seems it's pretty much become just a 6-man rotation. Like, there's really not much that's probably gonna stay the same in the Big 12 tournament and definitely in the tournament following. Donovan Hunter played 39 minutes. Suarez and Miles each played 37. Taylor Bigby played 36. The only thing that really is kind of open to changing is like Clara Silva. She played 23, and then usually Campbell will bring in Kennedy Basham for 10 to 15 minutes or so. But Bielefeld played 8, Veronica Sheffy played 6, and none of those players scored. It has just been the starters. But that's kind of just a common thing in women's college basketball. Baylor,
Baylor played 7 people.
Yeah, they played 7, but the 2 players that came off the bench played significant minutes. But yeah, you're really running 6, 7. Gosh dang it.
He did it. Did it again. It's unavoidable.
Yeah. Around that number as far as rotation goes around college basketball.
It's kind of the same in men's to a certain degree. Some teams, even like the men's team doesn't have a super deep rotation. Like at most, Jamie Dixon throwing 9 guys out there on a night, and even then, like 2 of them are like Jace Posey minutes. And he's like out there for an inbounds pass. I don't know. Like this is like,
yeah,
that's about it. So I mean, it's not super uncommon. And these games just kind of whiz by. So it's like not even. I mean, obviously it's a workout, but it doesn't feel like it's. I don't know. Never mind. Screw that train of thought.
I will say, from a broadcasting perspective, like working a game, they go by so fast. It's like, oh, I was just here like an hour ago and read.
Well, bring back call it. I mean, I understand why they will not put quarters in men's college basketball, but they should. It is much better.
There's more time for timeouts and commercials, and because under every 4 minutes they go
under 16, under 12, under 8,
12,
under 4.
8, and 4. Yeah, so that's why the women's, because there's only like 1 media break for each quarter, so that's why it goes by faster.
Alas, I mean that we're not here to comment on media rights. That's a whole other conversation for another time. But yeah, heck of a job by the women. They are the best team in the Big 12 once again. And unfortunately, they have to prove it again all over again because they got to go play in the tournament. So
Yes,
this says
let's
them
talk about.
nothing in terms of the tournament, which is dumb and stupid. But we'll go play a weird tournament where they are the favorite to win it, in my opinion. But it's not going to be an easy road. There's definitely going to be some opponents that can take them down, and they might end up meeting the Bears again, like they did last year, and that would be another close contest potentially, where Baylor has everything to play for, and so does TCU. So we'll see what happens in Kansas City. Always a fun time up at the T-Mobile Center. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, first I wanted to point this out before we get into the tournament. Shout out Nick Giramonte. TCU is the only repeat outright league champion among any power conference team. So only team in a power conference to repeat as like outright champs, which is pretty cool. Again, we're not sharing. We're just
no sharing. Sharing is not caring from Mark Campbell.
So the Big 12 tournament begins on March 4th. TCU will not play until Friday, March 6th. They get an automatic bye into the quarterfinal. TCU is obviously the 1 seed. West Virginia is the 2 seed. Baylor is 3, and Oklahoma State is 4. All of those teams getting automatic bids into the quarterfinal. So for TCU's path, basically it'll be Houston against BYU. I'm going to go out on a limb and say BYU is going to win. There has been 16 seeds that have upset before.
This is not the 16 seed that's going to do it, though.
Yeah, Houston's in a really bad spot. So it'll set up a BYU versus Utah.
Hey, how about that? Love it. Love it.
And then TCU will await the winner of that matchup. And then should they advance to the semifinal, they could be playing Texas Tech or maybe even Oklahoma State, maybe Cincinnati, one of those teams, but should be interesting. Are you gonna, if TCU, let's just say in this hypothetical, they don't win the Big 12 tournament, they don't win, maybe they get to the semifinals and lose, or maybe even the championship they lose, does that really derail how you feel about the team, or does it like have to look a certain way? What are kind of your expectations going into the Big 12 tournament?
No, I mean it depends on how the game looks, I think, but not really. I mean, they've proved over a long stretch of time that they can win a bunch of games in a row against decent to good teams. That's what they did toward the end of the season. Yeah, sure, there was games against Houston and Cincinnati mixed in there, but they were playing Iowa State and Baylor twice. Those are decent to good teams. So, and they were able to win those games pretty comfortably. So I think TCU can and probably will. I'll go out on that limb, win this tournament, but Texas Tech's a good team that beat TCU earlier this season, albeit in a very close game, but they beat them, and that could be the matchup in the semifinal. Now, if you're TCU, you can take solace that Texas Tech, that'll be their third game in 3 days. Should Texas Tech get there, if TCU, that obviously would just be their second game in 2 days. Oklahoma State, TCU did beat the Cowgirls earlier in the season, but they've given TCU some trouble over the past 2 years. I remember they beat them in Stillwater last year. Oklahoma State did. And what was another close game. The thing is with TCU, in conference play at least, they very rarely are getting their butts whooped or blown out. Look at their schedule, right? They lost to Colorado by 1. They lost to Tech by 2. They lost to Ohio State by 2. They lost to Utah in overtime. Those are their 4 losses this year.
Mm-hmm.
All of which pretty close games. So I think that even if TCU were to lose, you're like, okay, they probably came down to the end and they just, a couple of bounces didn't go their way. Maybe they turned the ball over a bit too much, and that's that. The thing is, they're going to enter the tournament probably at minimum a 3 seed. They're going to host their own region, and they're going to get probably a pretty favorable first round matchup and a second round matchup that they can probably win too. So I'm fairly confident that TCU, even if they lose in the quarters, semis, or even the championship game, can still make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament.
I agree. I don't think this tournament is going to sway how I feel one way or another. Obviously, if they win, you're like, okay, well, they did it again, and super high expectations, but I think it doesn't really change no matter where they lose, as long as it looks okay. it's going to be tough if they get matched up with West Virginia or Baylor if should they get to the Big 12 title game, because those are teams that they've played and beaten twice. There's kind of the thing in sports, it's like it's hard to beat a team a second time, or it's hard to beat a team a third time, especially. Now, TCU probably has a better team overall, but it's not going to be easy for sure. And you got to imagine that the whoever they match up with is going to be a little more amped up to try to win. But I think TCU's never really had a lack of focus or a lack of effort. They've just shown that each and every game. So I'm not too worried. Regardless of what happens with the Frogs, there's a proof of concept that they can continue to play good over a consistent amount of time. And I don't think it's going to affect their seeding if they lose. If they win the championship, it could go higher for sure. But we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see. I mean, right now they're a 3 seed. ESPN has them playing McNeese State in Fort Worth, with the winner of that game playing Bama in North Dakota State. So I feel pretty good about either of those matchups. And even if you go up a seed line too, that'd be even better for the Horned Frogs. Obviously, that kind of depends on what happens elsewhere as well. It doesn't just matter even if TCU were to win out, but everyone else kind of does chalk, then maybe they won't move up. Again, they shouldn't be worried about that kind of thing. They're into the tournament. They will be hosting their own little region. So they will have at least 2 games in Fort Worth in the tournament should they, win those games. And right now, all they need to be focusing on is, hey, let's go win ourselves another trophy. Wouldn't that be a fun time? So let's do that. And they'll be able to get that started at 1:30 p.m. on Friday against Utah, Houston, or BYU, which I know they lost to Utah earlier this year, but come on. Utah shot like 100% from 3 that game. It's not going to happen again.
Let's hope not. All right. So we've covered women's. We're going to go into the men's side of things because they're playing good basketball too. They have played themselves into a favorable position to make the NCAA tournament with a much needed 77-68 win over Kansas State. They have 2 remaining regular season games to close things out here in March. Big game against Texas Tech,
Huge.
who I believe is ranked number 10 in the AP poll. That'll be in Lubbock on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And then on Saturday, they'll host Cincinnati at 1 o'clock, team that's been playing pretty better, a little bit better recently. But TCU may have already it's borderline, but they may be in a pretty good spot to make the tournament depending on how things go the rest of the season.
It depends on who you ask, right? If you ask Joe Lunardi, he has been kind of not that bullish on TCU, but also I will say that ESPN's Joe Lunardi is one of the worst when it comes to predicting the bracket correctly. I believe out of 160 bracketologists last year, he finished 121st in terms of accuracy.
Oof.
So I know that's the one we all look at and see all the time. And right now he has TCU in the first 4. So it was one of the last 4 in. Here's the thing, though. TCU's 19-10. They're 9-7 in conference play. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. TCU, all they need to do is win 1 of their last 2 games, and they will guarantee an above 500 record in conference play for the first time in, I don't know, feels like a long time. Feels like a very long time.
It has.
And if you told me that TCU would be 19-10 and 9-7 at this point in the season, I probably would have taken that. Would you?
100%. Yeah, I would absolutely take that.
And playing their best basketball at the exact right time, winners of 6 of their last 7. I mean, you can't even avoid it there. I'm sorry, everybody. They've won 6 of their last 7. And that loss to UCF was like pretty competitive. It wasn't like the worst thing in the world. And including that is wins over Iowa State and West Virginia, who's a pretty quality squad, and Oklahoma State showed signs of life, and 2 wins over Kansas State, who sucks. So like that helps. And then obviously now you got 2 more against Tech and Cincinnati, like you just said. I think we're both in agreement here that if they beat Tech and Lubbock tomorrow, they are for sure in the tournament no matter what.
They should be 100%. I mean, you're beating a top 10 team, and with the way that they've been playing recently, you beat Iowa State in February. It would have been 4 wins in a row. I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's kind of my line. On the road in Lubbock, a pretty tough place to play. Now, obviously, Tech doesn't have one of its best players, but if anything, that should just help TCU go out there and potentially pull off an upset. I think that TCU's odds of making this thing are pretty high. Now, knock on wood there, things could obviously derail. TCU could lose their next 3 games, like they could lose these next 2 regular season games and then, be one and done in the Big 12 tournament and then find themselves on the outside looking in. And if they were to do that, maybe I would complain and maybe I would say they deserve to be in. But at the same time, they did themselves 0 favors throughout this entire thing, losing some of the games that they did. The only reason that they're still in the conversation is because they have those Florida win, that Wisconsin win, that Iowa State win, and that in their back pocket to say, "Hey, we did this. Don't ignore the loss to New Orleans. Ignore that, please." I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic, Zion, and that is not usually the thing for me with men's basketball at TCU.
It's usually not, and a win versus Texas Tech would give them a program record for Big 12 wins in a season. They tied it with 9, so 9 is the record. 10 would get them the most Big 12 wins in program history, which is crazy. And I think because now they play more.
They only play 18 now. They only play 18. They played 20 last year.
Okay.
But they brought it back down to 18.
Yeah, because that was the normal amount. Because I could always recall the 8 and 10.
The 9 and 9s.
So above 500, I don't know if they've done that since joining the Big 12.
I'll fact check.
Which is really impressive that they haven't done that. And it'd be very impressive if they did do it this year with just how young and kind of inexperienced and this team is. And it just speaks to the job that Jamie Dixon's done. I think we defend him a lot, and it's with the resources that he's had and how he's been able to develop some of these players. It's been pretty impressive. Malik Diallo went out with an ACL injury in the first game of the season.
Yeah, so that was massive.
It was a big loss, and Xavier Edmonds has stepped up in his place. He had another really good game, 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists with 2 blocks and 3 steals in the win over Kansas State. Filling up the stat sheet, Micah Robinson had 9 points. David Punch had 13. Tanner Toulson had 14 off the bench. Lella Vicious had 12 off the bench. So, again, Kansas State's obviously in a bad spot, but it's TCU not falling down to their competition. They took care of business, and they're putting themselves in the best spot that they possibly can and making up for some of those bad losses earlier in the year.
To answer the question of when was the last time they finished over 500 in conference play in the Big 12, the answer is, Zion, would you like to guess? Since 2012.
I was going to say the early 2010s. Okay.
The answer is never.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to know what their conference record was in 2012, their first year in the Big 12? 2-16.
It wasn't good. It
2-16. In 2013, they were 0-18.
Golly. I was thinking during the Desmond Bain era that they might have.
Their best finish was 9-9 during the Desmond Bain era. 9-9.
Wow.
That was the 2017-18
I guess Desmond Bain was
season.
I was going to say, for some reason in my head, Desmond Bain was early 2010s, but it was not. That was 2016, 17, 18, 19 probably. Or
yeah,
something
2017-18, TCU went 21-12 overall, finished 9-9 in the Big 12, made the tournament as a 6th seed, and lost to Syracuse in the first round.
That is crazy. They've never finished above 500.
And if they win one of the last 2 games, it will happen.
That's crazy. That is absolutely wild. Truly, I don't think anyone could have guessed that for this team in this year. Maybe next year, but it's been pretty impressive, and I'm excited to see what TCU could do in the tournament. Not with the expectation of, hey, I think they 100% could go to the Sweet 16, but I truly, and I said this in the last episode, I think TCU could be a team that could sneak up on a pretty good opponent if they play that the way that I know they can be capable of. They can look bad. That's very much on the table. But I have very little reason to believe that the way that they've been playing recently.
Yeah, but it could switch on a dime, and both you and I know that.
It can.
It can.
It
You're
can.
right. I don't. Obviously, we don't know who they'll be matched up with, or even if they'll make it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they definitely have the capability to sneak up on someone, and they could be that team that goes on. I think this is the archetype of a team that could go on a really weird run all of a sudden. Win their conference tournament. Like, you remember that NC State 2 years ago? How in the world did they win the ACC tournament and then they go on a run to the Final Four? I'm not saying TCU's going to do that, but that's kind of the archetype type. Is just who's the DJ Burns on TCU? Is it Micah Robinson? Is Micah Robinson the DJ Burns?
It could be Xavier Edmonds.
Is it Xavier Edmonds? Is it David Punch? He's going to become a national superstar in front of our eyes. That would be a dream come true for TCU. I'd almost rather TCU be a Cinderella team than a super really good basketball team that loses in the Sweet 16. I'd rather than be an 11 seed that goes on a run and has a fun time. So we'll see. We'll see. That's kind of the thing with TCU men's basketball. It's always a big we'll see.
It is, and it's just been fun that they're on the right side of it right now. Again, TCU men's and women's basketball have never made the NCAA tournament in the same season. It's just been such a bleak history when it comes to hoops in Fort Worth, and basketball is a sport that I care deeply about. And it backstabbed me a year ago when a certain player on the Dallas Mavericks was traded, but it's brought me so much joy with TCU women's basketball, and it's fun when both programs can be thriving the way that they are right now. And I really hope for Jamie Dixon, for these young players, that they can get an opportunity to experience March in its full spectacle on a big stage. That's all I hope for.
Yep, that's the dream. And hopefully, they can do something with it too. That would be awesome. But we'll wait in anticipation for March to come around. But before that, for the men's team, at least, you got a couple more games to take care of before you can even, say that is a thing that's set in stone. So Tech, Cincinnati, Big 12 tournament. Let's get at it, boys.
I was muted. Let's go get it done.
The mute button. Yep. The mute button once again.
Let's go get a couple dubs, and let's march on to the Big 12 tournament and make some noise there. But it's so much fun to be able to talk about this right now. And what was happening there?
The opposite of the mute button. Facebook Reels open on accident.
Facebook strikes.
Facebook.
All right. Well, Seth, I think that'll I think that's our cue to end this episode here.
Yeah,
I think we got enough good discussion here about both TCU women's and men's basketball. Looking forward to seeing how those two programs perform over the next couple weeks. You can subscribe to our YouTube page or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.